happening?
Randy Rhodes, tonight at 7:06.
On AM 760, Colorado's Progressive Talk.
Denver's own Gloria Neal. Mornings at 7:03 on AM 760, Colorado's Progressive Talk.
So we had Washington State election results. Disappointing in Washington State. The GMO labeling initiative did not pass. Mark Taylor-Canfield, a reporter from Seattle, on the line with us. Hey, Mark, what happened in Washington?
Well, first of all, it was good to hear Brad Friedman on the show. I was actually on the broadcast last week talking about these elections, and today I'm writing a daily coast. But, yes, it is disappointing. There's good news and bad news. The big coal industry got a black eye when voters in Whatcom County elected 4 Democrats. So they have all said ahead of time that they were going to vote against giving a permit to the $600 million Gateway Pacific terminal in Bellingham, which would have been the port where coal mining companies would have exported 48 million tons of coal a year to China. So big coal suffered some major setbacks all across the country on some of these statewide ballot measures. Another news story is that the city of SeaTac, just south of Seattle, is voting currently in favor of a new $15 an hour minimum wage, which is another issue that has received a lot of national attention.
Now, has that been nailed down yet, or are they still counting the ballots?
They're still counting ballots, Tom. I should be clear here that this is an all-mail balloting system in Washington State, so it will actually take probably till the end of the week to get a really final count. A lot of folks dropped their ballots off late on Tuesday night, last night.
Right.
So some of these numbers could change, but the trends are looking pretty clear. And one of the bad news stories is that Washington State's Initiative 522 to label GMO food is failing at this point. So it looks like Monsanto, DuPont, and the Grocery Manufacturers Association were once again able to convince the majority of the state voters, like they did in California, that, GMO labeling is somehow unwise. So there are millions of dollars in negative ad campaigns.
I understand, Mark. I mean, you live in Washington State, and I don't, so I haven't seen these ads, but I've seen reference to ads that were done by organic farmers who said, I'm an organic farmer and I'm opposed to this labeling bill. Is that true?
I can't really speak on that because I've been busy covering the Washington State Attorney General's complaints against the Grocery Manufacturers Association for hiding $7 million in contributions to the No on 522 campaign. But they have been in the eyes of a lot of the Yes on 522 activists, very deceptive ads. They've hired people who are nurses and farmers and anybody they can find, and the money is just poured into the eastern part of the state, which tends to be more conservative. There's a lot of Republican voters there. Right. So that was very successful in that part of the state, at least.
Right.
By the way, we have a new mayor. Ed Murray, former state legislator, is now the new Seattle mayor. He beat incumbent Mike McGinn, largely on issues of reforming the police department, which was under an 8-month Department of Justice review because of excessive use of force. And also the self-proclaimed Occupy movement candidate for city council, Kshama Sawant, actually lost her bid to be the first socialist member of the council in recent history, but she came so close in the polls that they're still counting the votes, and it's definitely taken the monopoly away, I think, that Richard Conlon has had on that seat in Seattle for years and years now. And also Seattle, the city, did approve a public financing of city elections. So there's good news and bad news. Some of it is really disappointing in terms of the Initiative 522 votes, but the fact that the coal industry kind of got a black eye and that a $15 an hour minimum wage has been instituted in SeaTac is a good thing. And by the way, Tom, you were mentioning tax subsidies for major corporations earlier. Governor Jay Inslee just called a special session of the Washington State Legislature because Boeing is demanding continuing tax subsidies. So there you go. There's a perfect...
So, yeah, the average person, the median income in the United States, $50,000 per household, $36 a year of that goes to pay for food stamps of your tax bill. $6,000 a year of your tax bill goes to pay for corporate welfare, which includes corporate welfare for Boeing in that area. That's very interesting. Mark, thanks a lot for the report.
Thanks, Tom. Keep up the good work. Always great show.
You too. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.
Listen in, call in. The Gloria Neal Show, mornings at 7:03.
Millennials love car tech. All kinds of it. I'm Brian Cooley from CNET on Cars. When I mention millennials and car tech, you probably think Facebook and Twitter apps in the dash. But a new survey from GFK Research found strong interest not just in smartphone connectivity, but also well-being technology like air filtration, massage seats, and drowsiness alerts. Even the fact that cars often put power seat adjustments only on the driver's side strikes millennials as odd. In other words, they're used to technology across their lives, not as a special feature. This slams head-on into longtime automaker practice of putting the new tech only into high-end cars that cost too much and print too old to appeal to millennials. By the time it does trickle down to the affordable models, something new and more desirable is once again showing up only on the high-end cars. Car makers will need to upend that thinking and put their best tech in front of the most appreciative audience, not just the most deep-pocketed. High-tech cars and modern driving at cnetoncars.com. I'm Brian Cooley.
CBS News Update. I'm Harley Carnes. The practice of opening town council meetings in Greece, New York, with prayer is being challenged as unconstitutional at the Supreme Court. Aisha Khan at Americans United for Separation of Church and State says the prayers were too Christian.
None of us want the government telling us what a good prayer is and what a bad prayer is.
CBS's Barry Bagnato at the Supreme Court.
The lawyer defending legislative prayers argued they're part of a tradition dating back to the Founding Fathers. Chief Justice John Roberts declared, quote, history doesn't make it clear that a particular practice is okay in the future. But the court signaled little willingness to toss them out completely. Several justices searched for compromises that would keep public prayers from being coercive, especially to religious minorities.
CBS News Update. I'm Harley Carnes.
The discussion continues and solutions are found on AM 760.
And when they go back to look at all of these, there are some paper ballots that they can count. Fairfax County has the largest number of voters. That's got paper ballots. They may be able to count that. Hopefully, the Democrat there.
Area, by the way, that's the Democrat.
Exactly, very Democratic. Hopefully, the Democrat there Herring is smart enough to demand those are hand counted, not machine counted a second time. So you may have hope. That's the good news. The bad news is it will be Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli overseeing that recount in Virginia. So not to ruin your day. Howie Klein of DownWithTyranny.com. Always great to talk to you, my friend. And where can people help you out at Blue America PAC? Am I right? Is it actblue.com?
Yeah, or if they just go to my blog at Down with Tyranny on the upper right-hand thing, there's a big Act Blue button, and if they just press that, or Blue America button, they'll get right to the candidates where they can donate money directly to our candidates. If you have a second, I just wanted to mention one more race that we didn't talk about, and that's the one in Alabama 1. It was a Republican runoff, and of course it's an all-Republican district, so the runoff means that will be the congressperson. And it looked for a minute that the Tea Party guy was going to win. As it turns out, the mainstream conservative won, but just by a smidge. And now, of course, the Republicans are all saying, well, that's it for the Tea Party. They're not going to bother us anymore. We can do whatever we want, and we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that's what really happens.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to, and you said it was a Tea Party, crazy Tea Party guy versus an establishment Republican. Glenn Beck tells me that was a patriot versus a progressive Republican. That's how he would say it. Howie Klein, thanks, brother. I got to run.
All right, talk to you, Brad.
All right, brother. Let's do some green news.
It's not easy being green.
It's not easy being green, Desi Doyen.
It seems you blend in with so many other.
It seems you're always pushed to the back of the hour and you never have enough time.
There never is enough time.
No.
But you can always get more at greennews.bradblog.com.
Right. So in the 30 seconds we have here before we got to run the Green News Report, some progressive victories yesterday on the climate front, aside from Ken Cuccinelli being defeated. He's the enemy of Michael Mann, the guy who created the
climate scientist, yes, of the famous hockey stick graph.
Yeah. So he was defeated. But fracking lost yesterday?
Well, yeah, sort of. There were 3 out of 4 cities who were voting on whether or not to ban fracking within city limits. So 3 out of 4 cities said, yeah, we want to ban that. There is some issue, though, whether or not that's actually going to be in keeping with the Colorado State Constitution. Governor Hickenlooper, John Hickenlooper, who's a Democrat and very much in favor of fracking in Colorado, has already sued one city, Longmont, Colorado, that last year voted to ban fracking within city limits because he says our Constitution guarantees mineral rights owners the right to get at their minerals.
Also, a loss for coal in Whatcom County, but we're going to have to hold that for our Green News Report later this week, because if we don't start now, we won't get in today's Green News Report. Kick it, Ray.
Climate scientists go nuclear. Coal spills and kills. Obama announces new climate action. The UN's latest climate warning. Plus, Germany breaks its own renewable record again.
All of that and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Storms and hurricanes and unimaginable murders and mass murders and all of that doesn't just happen.
It doesn't just happen. And today we're saying, oh, no, it's global warming. That's what, no. We opened a door that lost God's protection over our environment.
I knew it. God is responsible for global warming. That. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, it is Election Day as we go to air today, and I know there's a bunch of important environmental-related issues on the ballot today.
Oh, yes, big corporate money at work across the country to defeat grassroots initiatives against fracking in Colorado, GMO labeling in Washington, and also an effort to prevent climate change denier Ken Cuccinelli from becoming governor in Virginia.
We'll have results on those races, I suspect, later in the week. What do you have for us today?
Well, another big environmental move from President Obama.
Uh-oh, but is it a good one?
Well, yeah. He took another big step to address climate change on Friday, just days after the Superstorm Sandy anniversary. He issued a new executive order that focuses solely on helping the nation adapt to the impacts of climate change. Among other things, the order directs federal agencies to focus on resilience and hardening the nation's infrastructure, and will help states and communities prepare and build for future impact with scientific data and funding. It's a big deal and part of his climate action plan announced in his landmark climate speech in June.
And, of course, you'll be shocked to know that Fox News is calling it tyranny.
No.
Yes.
President Obama signing an executive order, which would now give the government sort of sweeping power over its climate change policy.
No, it doesn't do that at all. It just helps communities prepare and brace for climate change impacts. Meanwhile, the United Nations Environment Programme's new report warns that time is running out to close the emissions gap. They calculate that countries' current pledges to cut emissions will not be enough, and that the window is rapidly closing for big industries to cut their emissions in time to avoid serious climate disruption. In that same vein, 4 prominent climate scientists have gone nuclear. They've written a letter asking big environmental groups to embrace new, safer nuclear technology as a stopgap measure to help cut emissions quickly. They say, quote, continued opposition to nuclear power threatens humanity's ability to avoid dangerous climate change.